Hey, Edgar community, excited to bring you another How'd She Built That today with Lisa from Right on Creative. And we're really excited to get her to tell us a little bit about how she uses social media to draw attention to her business and how she uses automation like MeetEdgar to help along with that. So I'm going to pass it on to Lisa to introduce herself and her business a little bit first. So, Lisa, take it away.
Thanks. I'm just so delighted to be here. As you mentioned, my name's Lisa Manyon, and I'm known as the business marketing architect, and I own Right on Creative, which is now, oh my gosh, this year going to be 17 years young. So that's kind of exciting. But one of the things that I do for clients is I help them with content strategy plans and teach them ways to leverage tools and techniques that are going to be super impactful and also save money. So when MeetEdgar came on the scene, I was super excited because there wasn't a platform like this that I had found yet. And I had actually hired someone to create an SOP, and someone was manually rotating my content in because I knew, intuitively, since I've been doing marketing for multiple decades, that you can't just share a message once. You have to have multiple impressions, especially in this day and age. So I had invested a lot of money to make that happen and then was paying quite a bit of money for someone else to manage that on an ongoing basis. And then right at the same time that that person decided that they were going to go on and do something else, I found out about MeetEdgar, which was awesome because not only did I not have to replace a human, I was able to utilize the MeetEdgar platform and saved me over $5,000 a year, which is pretty cool.
No.
So yeah.
Yeah, I love what you just brought up here of making sure that you're sharing your message more than once, especially to be able to stand out as an expert. Oftentimes, we need to repeat ourselves in different ways so that it reaches different segments of our community at the time that they need to hear that. And I think so often we can get a little scared about either resharing the same post or resharing a concept that's similar. So, can you talk a little bit about when you create your content and you put it into MeetEdgar, how you get over that mindset hurdle and how you scheduling it out to go out perhaps multiple times during the year, how you actually got into that mindset of saying, this is actually going to help serve my community. And this is what I should be doing with my social media content.
Well, the good news is I have an advertising agency background. So I'm familiar with all different mediums. So coming from a background where I played with radio ads as well as television spots, I mean, that's clear. You don't produce one television spot and then have it run one time and just forget it, right? That would be an ineffective use of your money and also of your message, both. So luckily, it wasn't an unfamiliar idea to me, but I just apply traditional media marketing techniques to social media, which a lot of people don't do. And many people say, have that same fear. And they're like, well, why are you going to repeat the same thing? Because one person might see it twice. Good. It's going to take them at least 7 or more impressions to actually resonate with your message. So make sure it's getting out there and make sure that you're sharing it in different ways. And you brought up a really good point. Like, are you going to share the same message the same way all the time? Not necessarily. And luckily, there's features within MeetEdgar where you can make different versions and have those rotate. So that helps people get over that fear a little bit. But to anyone who's afraid to share your message, I just encourage you to embrace it. We're here to be of service to others, and we can't do that if we're not telling them what we're doing on a regular basis.
Oh, I love that so much. It's so true. It's your responsibility to make sure if someone has a pain point that your product or service could solve, that you are getting the message in front of them to let them know you can save them time. You can make their life a little bit easier. You can really make sure that their own goals are being reached. So thinking it through all the way to the end and thinking about the benefits of your product or service, separate from the features, often I find can help you get into that right mindset of saying, okay, I need to have a conversation with the right people in order to sell for them, to them. So I think that's really great.
It's true, and I often flip the script because what happens to people when they're afraid to share their message too often is a couple of things, at least for my clients. First of all, they're really not comfortable bringing up the pain points for clients. So I flip that script and we focus on passion points. So if you're having a problem with the pain point marketing, which a lot of people do, instead focus on those passion points and paint a picture of possibility with what your product or service can do for others. So for those that are having problems with that languaging and the sometimes antiquated approach that many use, you can just flip that script and you don't have to use that languaging and you don't have to use that mindset. And it's really removed blocks for many people thinking about it that way and coming from it from a place of service, which is where we should always be coming from when we're sharing our message, right? How can I help you? How can I solve your problem? How can I be of service?
I love that term passion point so much. I'm totally going to steal that in my own work. That's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
I totally do. I've been sharing this methodology for well over a decade, and I pioneered a new communication framework called the Challenge, Solution, and Invitation framework, where we implement the passion points instead of pain points. And it's really been a game changer for many mission-driven entrepreneurs who really want everything to be in alignment with their core values and the energetics of the message they're putting out there. So it's really pretty exciting for me. And I use MeetEdgar to get that message out over all the platforms, which is really exciting as well.
Nice. That's so beautiful. So when you're taking these passion points and actually getting this content strategy that you're talking about into play, can you talk a little bit about how like categorizing your updates and when you send those categories out has helped get that message out?
Yeah, so first of all, I love the resources that MeetEdgar provides because you do the research and you do this, you look at all the stats, which is, I will admittedly say, not my thing. I'm not a numbers person, but you're doing all the work for me. So I just have to at a glance take a look and see what's working effectively or not so effectively and change that, because you already know what times people are on the different platforms and we can modify. But as far as categorizing, it's fantastic because you can categorize all of your images. You can categorize specific promotional posts. You might not want some of your promotional posts to go onto LinkedIn, whereas you might want them on Facebook. And each of the platforms typically does have its own strategy. And you can categorize, create as many categories as you need to make sure you're speaking to the right audience on the right platform in the right way at the right time. All pieces that are super important.
That is the beautiful explosion when all those things go right. So your message hits at a time when people are ready to take action on it. That's so cool to hear. Yeah. And so when you're putting these categories onto your schedule, how do you decide when to send status updates out? What kind of research you do about your audience, and what kind of experimentation have you found on the schedule side of things has really helped to get that beautiful explosion of the message hitting at the right time?
Well, I'm still dialing that in, full transparency, but you have to always look at it and course correct. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm revamping everything. I'm rolling out a new website, a new branding very soon. And so I'm taking a look at that and going back and looking at the stats and saying, is this the best time to send out my image? Should I be sending it at a different time? When should I be asking provocative questions? Who's actually engaging? Which those tend to actually have the most engagement at any time, I've found.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to make sure that we're really getting across the point that having an experimental mindset is how you're going to win on social media, because it's not just about broadcasting on social media to get your message out. It's about listening to what's coming back. That's the social side of social media, right? So if you're experimenting with sending out an image in the morning and you're not getting a lot of engagement or feedback, and you take this experimental mindset and say, okay, maybe people aren't in the mood to see this image in the morning because they're rushing around getting to work and they can't actually take the time to process it. What if I do it perhaps on their lunch break? And what if I put my image time slot down there? And you really think through how your content could serve someone throughout their entire day. And again, just keep on the MeetEdgar schedule, experimenting with different categories at different times, using your Facebook insights, and using all of that is really the way that you're going to consistently make sure that you're serving content your community wants to see, not content you think your community wants to see. So I think that's cool that you're still just dialing that in and getting that out there.
Yeah, I think it's important because you can kind of set it and forget it with MeetEdgar, which is beautiful. It saves a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort. And at the same time, it is important. And I have to remind myself of this because I already said I'm not super excited about the numbers necessarily, but all of those stats come through weekly, which is so great. And you can look and see, okay, great, I sent out this many posts on this platform. Nobody clicked on this one, or nobody, engaged with this one. So maybe I need to just go in and refresh that content a little bit and change it or turn it into a question instead of a statement so that you can get engagement, because the engagement is really a big piece.
Yeah, I love that too. So much for thinking, I'm not getting any engagement, but we're not asking questions on social media. So I'm glad you brought that point up. Like often if you're not getting engagement or traffic from your links, try asking a question about it to pique people's curiosity and to remind them, hey, there's a real human on the other side of this computer screen. Let's talk. So I think that's a cool strategy to take as well.
Yeah.
Are there any other features that you find in MeetEdgar really have helped save you the most time to kind of get in there and engage with your audience and not have to worry about just babysitting your social media?
Well, on one of the content creation parties that I was recently attended that MeetEdgar hosts, I love that we can batch content and upload it all at once. So putting it into a spreadsheet and then saving time that way, I think is fantastic. That I think that was actually really exciting for me because I'm also not much of a spreadsheet person, but that was great. And I'm like, oh, that's a really good way too to just categorize things and make it even easier. And the fact that there's that support too. I have to carve out time to come in and learn about some of the new features and different things that are available. So you're offering all of these great tools when people subscribe to the service. And I just think everyone needs to take advantage of that.
Oh, that's so great to hear. Yeah. So if you're not familiar, what Lisa's talking about is the concept of batching your status updates allows you to make sure you're telling a consistent story because you're sitting down and you're writing them all in one batch. It can be like on a monthly or weekly basis, whatever works well for you. But this makes sure that it is really intentional rather than just leaving social media to doing it at the time in between things where you're not exactly focused on it. And batching also allows for you to do the math within the categories of MeetEdgar, saying, if I have 6 categories in MeetEdgar, this is how many status updates I need to add to each category each month. And it really keeps you nice and on your plan, again, keeping that consistency in there. And when you're doing this, you can do this manually by adding content to MeetEdgar, or we also have this import feature here where you're able to upload a spreadsheet of content. So if you've collected questions or if you've collected quotes or other blog posts, you can get them all into the library very, very quickly that way. So huge time savers just being able to have stuff in the library, store it there, and know that it's always going to be in there for you to schedule out that way. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, and it was the import tool that I was super excited about. I wasn't using the right terminology. I'm like, this is so awesome. I could just throw them all in there and boom, all at once, because sometimes it does take some time if you're going to load a bunch in manually, right? Whereas you could just pop them in a spreadsheet and then it's done in an instant.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's cool to hear that you figured that out. Cool. Well, Lisa, this has been a blast. And I would just love for you to leave us with one last marketing tip that you think has really helped your business grow and that you can just share with the MeetEdgar community to help them on their social media journey.
Sure, just be consistent and keep it real. It's that simple. It's all about building relationships.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, thanks so much for sharing your knowledge today, Lisa.
You bet. Thank you.